All right. Shall we do
What do we
this?
want to do? Yeah, let's do this. Let's talk to people or talk to ourselves. It can go either way here.
Should we? Yeah, I guess we can just start being some official, have an official intro.
Yeah, welcome
Are you
to the
ready?
pump you up. Just kidding. All right. All right. Welcome to another episode of Shift Hit the Fan,
Welcome to the
everybody.
shift.
The shift in your fan. Oh, maybe not.
We be ready to spread that shift.
Yeah, spread that shift all over the room, all over other
Yeah.
people. Um, I'm Avra. This is Elias. We are the shift. Shift. Um, we wanted to talk about holding space today. It's been coming up in our space a lot, both of us. Um, and so we wanted to get different perspectives on what it means to hold space. Because it seems like most people aren't in agreement of what it means. So, what do you think, Elias? What does it mean to hold space?
There's a quote that comes from Guru, uh, and he's an Indian guru dude. Um, and he said that love is inclusion. It's including others as yourself. Um, and I think we hear that golden rule where you treat others as you would treat yourself. And I think that is pretty much the rule. We always treat others as we treat ourselves in that sense of the judgment that we have in our own mind, in our own inner world is what we're projecting out into the world, is the judgment we're giving to everybody else. Um, and so when I think about holding space, I think about how can I hold a space to include others? And I think sometimes that includes holding a space for our own selves. Do we actually have a space for ourselves to exist, to be who we are meant to be? Or are we containing ourselves in a box and closing that space up as much as we can and creating labels and boundaries and all of these different things to contain this energy, this essence of being, of existence. Um, and so when I think of holding space for others, I think of my own desire of not wanting to be contained in a box, of not wanting to be in this box anymore. Um, and so I want to hold that same space of, I don't want to put you in a box. You can show me whatever you want to show me, and I will accept that. And I will do my best to love that. And knowing that any judgments I have on you is going to be my own judgments that I've created for the world. So that's how I see holding space. What are your thoughts?
That is so perfect. That is so beautiful. I agree wholeheartedly with all of that, and I would add that um, I become like for me, it's a becoming of the container um, to hold whatever humanity you have to offer. Like it's perfect. The way that you said it's love. And, you introduced that that statement with what love is, and that's what I feel like the container is love. Love for every bit of your humanity, no matter what you say, no matter what you do. You tell me what what is coming up for you inside of um this thing that you want to um like inside of how you want to be known. um Whatever messiness comes up, you know, through you, through your words or whatever, it's safe, it's okay with me. There's nothing for me to fix or change inside of that. There's nothing wrong. um you're whole, perfect, and complete. You're just finding your way to that thing, um and speaking it into my listening, into my container that I am for you. That's going to get sorted out for you. The clarity is going to come to you because I'm not adding my own thoughts, my own opinions about how it should go into your whatever is confusing for you or whatever is painful for you. Um, so yeah, I see it as a container because it's, I mean, it's called holding space. But the space is really unlimited, and it's in love. It's in I see you, you are me, I am you, you're just a different expression of me. And and I want to see you win. I want to see you get through it. I want you to know you're loved no matter what. um yeah. All right, that was the show. Just
You brought up a point in there that I thought was interesting because sometimes there's this aspect of just it's almost like being a soundboard. It's that person that you're where you're just able to listen. And I think the holding space is really listening to someone. And you see this with uh, biodynamic craniosacral therapy. Um, in that therapy, someone's just holding, just lightly touching the person and listening to the body, listening to the energy flow through the body. And the miracles that happen inside of that energy work happen because the body's like, oh, finally, someone just listened to me. Like, finally, someone just actually heard what I'm trying to communicate here. You know, because our body has its own intelligence that's constantly communicating with us through pain or senses or whatever it might be. And we choose to ignore that, or we choose to cover it up with medication or whatever it might be. They're not saying that those are bad, just we tend to cover up those sensations in our body. And I think there's something really beautiful about really listening to what someone's saying. And something that I've really loved with intuit, like learning about intuition and learning about reading into a situation or a person or whatever it might be, um, is that when you really listen to the person, you start to, there will be images and symbols that come up in your own mind. And I think sometimes the body wants to hear that you've listened. And I've seen that with some of the stick work that I've done, the massage stuff, where I've done this massage on someone, gone down next to them, and just like spoke their whole life in front of them and gave them the freedom to not have to continue to hold on to what they were holding on to. And the stick work helped open their body, but then those words were able to enter into their mind and give them more space, open up their own box to say, hey, you don't need to keep holding these boundaries around you because you're going to keep bumping into all these boundaries and you're not holding space for yourself. And I think there's something really beautiful about being able to open someone else's box with words. And I think we've bumped into this with some of our conversations of where, someone's saying something in their life and they start getting bombarded with coaching
Mhm.
because we have a bunch of coaches and alchemists in a lot of our calls.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have to be careful of, are we truly listening to the person and the situation with no intent, no thought, and allowing the thoughts to come to us that we need to say. When I served a mission for my church, there was a saying that said, listen to people without thinking about your own thoughts you're going to say, and then the words will be given to you when you need to say them. And I think there's something really beautiful about almost creating space and not just holding space, but that creation of it as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's the attitude I used to have when I would get on a stage, is like the perfect thing's gonna come to me. I'm the container for it to come out, I'm gonna get my usual standing ovation. It's gonna be impactful. It's gonna be the perfect thing for what needs to be put into the space. So I'm going up there with no agenda. I am the space right now. Raise my hand to be called on, you know. I've created that space. But I was also thinking about how, when we were talking about my healing process um the episode that didn't get, put up, because it was just all over the place. That's something that came up for me, was the need for talking about holding space, because of how I was being held, and how I had to come in and step in for myself, but um, and create the space that I needed to be held. Um, and but also, the other part of that conversation is the way that I knew I had breast cancer is that I listened, and I didn't demonize, I didn't try to fix it, I didn't go to pills or anything like that. And like you said, not that there's anything wrong. It's just not what it's asking for. It wants to be heard, it wants to be held. Um, and that's what I did. Um that's how I engaged with the communication that was being given to me, is I see you, I love you, I'm gonna hold you. Um, and I know you're here for a reason. I know you're here to communicate something, and I'm just gonna, you know, um, let you come and give the help that you came to give, um, and the communication that you came to give. And I'm just gonna listen as best as I can, and just keep holding, and um, and that's how it finally got resolved, right? Because I'm able to hold space for um, myself, for others, and I'm always wanting to expand uh, how I can hold space, who I can hold space for. Um, and that's why I love the our community actually growing, and people wanting to bring other people into our community, or people coming to me wanting to be part of the community, um, because of what because of how we learn to hold space for each other. And in addition, the other thing that you mentioned is our community wanting to help and coach and all this stuff, being able to hold space for them expressing themselves as well, is, I think, is a part of it. Just like you did so beautifully last night, with everybody wanting to fix and help you with your situation, and just giving their what was there for them, just embracing and accepting and, not taking it like personally or trying to shut anybody up. You're just being with all of it, sitting there silently, just accepting and knowing that love is actually trying to be expressed. You're feeling that people are actually, what's underlying is that they want to help. They want you to be held. They want you to be happy and not suffering, and all that. Right. So I think that's also um a part of it. Which is the thing that I was struggling with in the moment when I was feeling so I just needed to be held, not fixed, and all that. In that moment, I was confronting my own ability to hold space. Um, and that's just a result of I want to expand my ability to hold space and the space that I haven't been holding for myself, all the judgment that I've had for myself. So I take it harshly when people um when people also give that the perspectives that I'm not um or that I'm saying subconsciously or unconsciously to myself, when they're saying the things that are hidden that I keep hidden from myself, that those judgments that it you know being able to be with the triggers for myself and being that container for myself as well. I don't know if all that made sense, but there was a few different things that were
Yeah.
put in, but yeah.
I think something that I think about with that is that there is often there's pain that comes with the suffering. And the thing that or that comes with the suffering, that comes with the space,
Mhm.
holding the space. Because a lot of times we're pushing away that pain, we're pushing away um, the feelings and emotions that we have inside of us. Uh, and someone mentioned to me in some of the I'm having a friend review uh, some of my website stuff right now, and she mentioned that a lot of times the emotion isn't the thing that we fear. It's the shame that we have around the emotion that is creating that fear and creating that hesitance to go into those emotions, that pain. And I think something that I love with the stick work that I do is that, I'm massaging someone with these sticks, and we'll find an energetic spot, like a muscle knot, for example. And the point work is you're taking the sticks and driving them into that energetic spot. And the person a lot of times is having a lot of pain, a lot of sensation inside of those points. But as I'm coaching someone through that situation and saying, hey, wiggle your toes, relax your hips, relax your back, I don't know, wiggle your arms around, whatever it might be, getting them to take their attention off of that, finding them to be relaxed inside of that sensation. Suddenly the sensation goes away and it's something that's soothing, and they find that deep relaxation, and it's this conscious letting go of, oh, I don't need to create that pain anymore. And there's something about feeling the pain, creating the space to be able to feel the pain itself and really listen to what is it trying to tell you and what is it trying to get you to let go of. Because a lot of times that pain is there as we're holding on to some concept or some event that has been in our life. And that holding on to those things creates tension in our body and creates constriction, and then the blood's not flowing, and then the energy's not moving. And you get this description of energy work where energy is flowing like a river up and down through the body, and you come up with boulders that the water has to go around. Um, and so as you remove those boulders in the river, it flows smoother and straighter. And but it takes feeling that energy that you've stored into those areas, like
Mm.
feeling the energy of those boulders, the weight of them, and being willing to say, it's okay to feel this. It's okay that we've had this emotion. It's okay that we feel this way and we are this way. A lot of the things that have been coming up in my own life have been really scary things, but deep thoughts. And as I've accepted those and allowed those to go into the minds of others, suddenly I'm getting the, oh, you're not a bad person. And then someone hears your actual thoughts and then they're like, okay, maybe you're not as great as I thought you were. I'm like, well,
Maybe I was wrong.
I told you that I didn't feel like I felt this way inside my own thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, but I think there is something to be said that holding space, it's almost as if it creates more space for that energy to dissipate, for the pain to dissipate into the atmosphere. And I always say that as you feel your emotion and you let go of the need to keep holding back or to hold on to the thing that's creating the emotion will run through you, burn up whatever energy that was creating the emotion, and then move on to the next thing. And then you no longer need to keep storing that emotion in your body.
Hmm. That's exactly how I've been healing, you know, my process for healing myself or my goal work, which is I have perfected my body because our teacher, tricked us into to writing down impossible things. So, but for me, perfecting, it's like the energy body. It's how energy flows through me. So it's been a process of having the energy run through my entire body, like water. And and I do feel like, over time, like certain things, like the boulders that it's had to go around are actually breaking down, and I could feel like all of the emotion that I had been storing, and it's been such a painful, such a like emotional process, but I'm just like learning to hold it all, to be with the trauma that I've held stored in my body in so many different places, and like, but also, feeling the freedom that it has to no longer hold pain there. um it's a totally painful process to expand yourself, to hold the space, to be the container, to create the space. um because I feel like I've processed ages and ages of emotion in just like 2 months. um and like I'm always just on the brink of tears, like just want to cry all the time from all the stuff that every single age of myself. And I'm also being pointed again to like really hold all of my younger selves because of all of the stuff that they couldn't access, that they didn't know how to hold, that they just kind of put somewhere in my body. They didn't know what to do with it, so they just moved on and whatever. And because I don't have a lot of memory of my childhood from memory loss, and all of the pain that I've stored in my scar up here from my accident that I was in when I was 16, and in my shoulder and all this stuff. There's just so much that's been, you know 47 years worth of stuff that's been wanting to process, and that I could finally hold now that um I'm in this like process of really wanting to expand the the space that I'm able to hold. It all starts within it all, with moving your own boulders without with you know dissolving them, or just loving them to bits, you know um which is what I think it is. It's like the way that water will erode, rocks and all this stuff. It's just loving it, just keep washing it over, washing the energy over it, over and over, and until it's just like part of the water becomes salt or whatever happens to it. Um, I'm not very sciencey, so
Well, and
so
I think something too with that is that it's a lot of times we try to remove the boulder. We try
mhm,
to take it out, like we would in surgery, but the surgery causes more trauma a lot of the times, and you have to heal from all that trauma from, all the scar tissue that's in there, all the whatever happens whenever something's taken out or cut out of the body. And that creates its own disruption. And a lot of times, yeah, surgery is something good to like get rid of cancer, get rid of something that's really causing harm right then and there, but it's going to cause more damage along with it.
mhm,
And there's something to be said that it's not even just taking the boulders out of the river. It's like you were saying, like letting them dissolve and giving them that space, removing the boundaries and the container that they're in so that they can just dissipate
mhm.
and
So
let go
much,
themselves.
so much of the pain and emotion that I feel is around my scars. You're so, yeah, spot on with that. It does. It's so the trauma that goes into healing in that way of surgery, um, for just momentary relief. You didn't get rid of the problem. You didn't get rid of the emotional thing that caused it. Um, you just removed a boulder, you know.
Put it somewhere else.
Yeah. You put it in the trash or wherever they put it. You have it in a jar, it's still there. I mean, that's why so many people's cancer comes back and all that stuff is that they didn't go after that, the underlying cause and the emotion. They didn't fix the thing in their life. They didn't learn how to forgive. They didn't they're still holding the resentment. They're still whatever it is that they did, they're still guilty. There's still so much that goes into that, just because people don't know how to hold space. They're not taught. We're not taught. We're taught to reject. We're taught to villainize. We're taught to, you know, stuff down, ignore, and yeah, it's not working for us.
Yep. It's that idea of cause fighting conflict with conflict just creates more conflict. It's just going to keep feeding itself. I had a thought the other day where I think conflict is more creative than destructive because conflict creates the next conflict, which creates the next conflict, and it just keeps creating this new problem to solve, this new thing to get past, this new, it's something new and new and new, but you never just solve the thing that started the conflict to begin with, or you never, I love, I've loved the ability that I've had in my life to just look at someone and in their irritation towards me and just sit there and be like, okay, whatever. And they're like, not even worth it.
Mhm,
If you just end the conflict, it's suddenly done. And you've let someone say their piece and now they get to go figure it out themselves of like, what is it that I just did? They have more reflection on their own judgment from their own judgment than if I feed that conflict and then they feel validated in their conflict. And then they're like, yeah, I'm right.
mhm,
Because I just opposed them and they got feedback to say that they're right in their own conflict.
mhm,
And then they go on and keep perpetuating that in the future.
mhm. Um, I've said this pretty often as well. Like, for in my world, there's not like a violent person, and I could feel safe around violent people because of the space that I know that I am. And keep getting all these calls trying to come in right now. Busy. Um as you know, their violence or whatever it is that's going on, the space is going to shift because it can't be expressed with me because I'm able to hold it with love and just unconditionally, and it's not, to me it's not violent, so it can't land over here as violent. And that's how I've helped people heal through their, you know, through their issues, is, I hold them as perfect. And having had this experience with somebody who, you know, just like they would they would be like trying to verbally insult and use their tactics that they do to chase people away and all this stuff, and they're like, why doesn't my poison work with you? um why, it's like you've shattered every belief that I've had about people and how they react to me, and to get that verbal confirmation of like, because in my space you're just held as perfect and there's nothing that you can actually do to hurt me. um they get to they get to be rehumanized, they get to start seeing a different part of themselves and no longer associate themselves as being a violent evil person, because it didn't get to continue living with me. And now they get to be like, wow, this is what love actually is, huh? So now I know that um I've never I just I didn't have the experience of ever being held and loved, and now I can understand myself. And now, um, it's just that it's that creating space that allows people to actually work through and not be labeled and not have to continue to being to living into that thing that others have have you know created them as. It's a co-creation, like we were talking about. um in the dream one, it's or in the meditation episode, is even that is a co-creation. The what people do with what you tell them and how they label you, they're going to believe you more often than not. And that's why it's so important how we talk to our kids and how we talk to others. Is it's not like necessarily telling somebody, no, you're not violent, no, you're not this or that. um but focusing on a different part of them, knowing that that part of them does exist, and it has resulted in some violence or whatever, but but focusing on the other things that are underlying, that have resulted in this, that have been not heard or held, that had a person um be the way that they are. All the lies that they've been told all their lives by either controlling parents or people who just had irritation or something with them, right? We hold that, but not in a way that it needs to be held. We keep it, we clutch onto it. um yeah.
I love that holding the space gives rise to pure creation. It allows the energy and the constructs to dissolve, to break down, to run their course. Like all the energy gets run out because the conflict is no longer feeding it. And it gives rise for that space for you to just create what's purely in your mind. And what I was seeing with that is I thought of the Tower of Babel, um, where they've all got these concepts going and they're building this tower and trying to get up to God and going higher and higher. And God says, y'all got this wrong. I'm going to break everything apart. Y'all got to refigure all this out. Um, and so they have to reset all the way down to like their base language. They don't know how to speak to each other anymore. And so I see that with the concept of Brahma, Shiva, and Shakti, where it's the destroyer and the creator and the preserver. And that's empty space allows for the creative process to flow, and it gets its momentum going, and then it dissolves the way it needs to. And it goes, the preservation kind of will keep going and building until it runs out of energy, and then it breaks down and a new creation can come up. And so it allows for that cycle to keep going in our lives so that we can keep creating and evolving something better and better, rather than evolving this thing that's old and dead and is no longer serving ourselves or humanity or whatever it might be. But then it really allows for a greater evolution of our minds and our bodies and our spirits and everything that we are.
Yeah. I don't know where I went, but you like, yeah. I think I just felt like, yeah, really nothing else needs to be said. Um,
And there's the end of our podcast.
yeah, there's the end. I'm just gonna sit with everything that we've said. It's funny because a lot of this stuff I also wasn't, because we were creating the space. You know, I wasn't expecting to say most of what I said. And
Yeah.
I came in not knowing what I was going to talk about, except the topic, the name of the topic. All right, let's see what comes out of this. Let's see what comes up. Um, and yeah, I think that is like the the sign that there's nothing more I could really say about it. There's because the words are no longer flowing.
And the shift has happened.
The shift the shift has hit the fan. It's flinging around all over the room. Yeah. Are there any other thoughts that you have?
All I got.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah. For
I get my words
enjoining
right.
us. That could be a word too. Creating
Yeah.
words here. Shifting things creates space to create things.
Now go shift
Yeah. Go
the
shift.
rest of your fans.
Yeah. Go shift all over people. Hold space. Love people. Remember, we're all connected. We're all just doing our best out here. We're all a little weird, so it's good. It's beautiful.
And weird is better than normal.
That's right.
It's way more interesting.
Yeah, they're the people that actually change the world and make it better. Be weird. Be weird, shifties. All right, the end.